One time I was crawling into bed and she literally said to me after preaching all weekend, leading my church, she says, "Man, I sure wish the guy that led our church lived here." Jim, I look at her like, "What are you saying?" And she's
Yeah.
like, I just watched you this morning at church and you're preaching with a passion and you pray with this fervency and, you come home and you're just a dud. None of that comes home. Jim, I literally jumped out of bed. I stood over the bed and I said, "Let me tell you something. I know the men in this church. You got the best husband in this entire church right here. This is the guy, and you're disappointed in that." I mean, I was so hurt by those words.
Men, are you frustrated with your bride's seemingly unending nagging and criticisms of you? Do you feel like you're always at odds with each other? Today we interview Dave and Ann Wilson about their newest book, How to Speak Life to Your Husband When All You Want to Do Is Yell at Him. You will learn how to work together as a married couple instead of always butting heads.
And so I think I'm so passionate about this because I know that the power we carry, we can instill this fresh energy into men. When we disrespect our husbands and belittle them or make them feel so small, it's going to kill our culture because we're killing these great men. I've had women say, "Ian, you don't understand. There's no greatness in my husband. There's nothing to cheer." And I had to start, this is embarrassing. I'm not a faker. I can't just fake it. "Oh, Dave, you're amazing." So we're sitting down to dinner. And I said, "Hey guys, before we start eating and praying, I want to say, Dave."
And it was so amazing. That little comment, like, breathed life into me. And I think that's how men respond.
Dave and Ann, it's so awesome to have you on the show today. I've seen Dave throughout the years, but Ann, it's like Beauty and the Beast. So thanks for coming on the show.
It's a lot better to see Ann than to see me.
It feels great to be with you.
We had a job interview years ago, and they picked us up at the airport, and they said, "What should we look for?" And I said, "Beauty and the Beast." He pulled up, and he goes, "That was easy."
Yeah. That's good. We're going to use that one.
That's funny.
Oh man. And so hey, this book is so intriguing to me. I joke often to people that my wife and I are two low maintenance people in a high maintenance marriage. And so I love the title of this book, How to Speak Life to Your Husband When All You Want to Do Is Yell at Him. I love that title. Ann, can you talk to us about how you came up with that title?
Yeah, boy.
How did you come up with
It's
that title?
basically a memoir. Honestly, you guys, so Dave and I struggled. Every marriage has highs and lows. That's so normal. And we had a low point in our 10-year anniversary.
Another low point.
Yeah, it was bad. We almost didn't make it. But coming out of that, we started coming up out of it. But I think probably between the years of 15 and 20, what happened is the title comes from what happened in this story. And I was asked to speak to a bunch of women and moms of preschoolers. And so I said, "Dave, you should come. The women will love it if you come. You're the pastor. They're going to think you're amazing." So he comes and he just starts talking about things I've never heard him say in our lives. And at that, we'd been married for a while. So I'm like, man, I've never heard him share this. And he said, "Women, I don't know if you get what it's like for us as men, because we usually have somebody that's cheering for us as a little kid, a mom, a dad, somebody, a coach." And he said, "And, I had a single mom, but then I started getting into football, sports, music, and I had coaches and teachers like, 'Hey, you're great at this.'" And he said, "I was a college quarterback. And so on Saturdays, felt like people are cheering for me." And he said, "Then I meet Ann, and I'm sitting back here on this stool. I meet Ann, and basically she says, 'Of all the men in the world, I choose you, Dave Wilson. You're the man.'" And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. That's good. That's cool. And then he drops this bomb and he says, "But then you know what happens? We're married for a while and we walk in the door at the end of the day. And it feels like all we hear as men is boo, boo." I'm sitting back here like, what just happened? He had never, ever, ever said anything like this to me personally. And so I was like, what are you talking about? I don't even know how it ended. We get in the car and I'm like, what was that? And he goes, "I don't know. It just came out." And I said, "You think I am booing you? I am helping you." And then I said, It feels like I said, everybody sees you and they're like, "Oh, Dave, you're amazing." But I see all of it and I'm helping you. I'm wanting to help you to be better. And he goes, "Well, is it working?" I'm like, "No, it's not working." So I have to say things more often and maybe more loudly, or maybe compare you to somebody else to motivate you.
That always works. Compare me to another husband, that's better.
Yeah.
I honestly thought I was helping him, and I thought he'd be motivated like, "Oh, I'll show her."
Mm.
Not knowing that my critique or my nagging or whatever actually demotivated him. It was like sucking the actual energy and life out of him. So that's where the title came from, because how to speak life to your man, it became a new language I had to learn. Honestly, I hadn't done it before because I felt like everybody's cheering him. He thinks he's amazing. I don't need to do that. Not realizing my voice was probably the most powerful voice that he was hearing, and I was saying nothing.
And, Jim, I'm thinking, I was given that message to a room full of women. There are like 200
Yeah.
women there.
Yeah.
I think if I was saying that to a room full of men, they would have cheered.
Well, 100%. I mean, here's one of the things I've learned. My wife wants me to win more than any other person on the
Yes.
planet.
Yes.
But it's the approach. So I'm going to go back to you, Anne. Anne,
Yeah.
you said in your book, you wrote this: most women don't realize the power and influence they carry within
Right.
them, or why it's there. We can use our power to, now here we go, bring life,
Yep.
hope, and wholeness to our marriages, or we can use it to bring division, devastation, and I love this last word, and death.
Death.
So when you learn this at the mothers of preschoolers group, what did you learn about what it looks like to bring or speak life into Dave?
Well, one, I wasn't doing it. I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, and we talked to hundreds of couples, thousands of couples around the country, around the world. This is a deal with us as women, and it was with me, and I was just like, this, we all feel this. Like, man, there's some areas that you could really be better in. We don't know how to say that. And the way we say it is everything. So I didn't realize by me saying the positive, it would bring life to Dave. And so when I got home from that event, I basically said to God, God, like I was venting, like I'm not sure what to do. And I was totally offended that he would say that. But at the end of the prayer, I said, God, do I boo Dave? Is that true? And I felt like in my spirit, I felt like God was affirming that. Yeah. And I felt like he was saying, start paying attention to your thoughts about him, and then start paying attention to your words, not only to Dave, but to your sons. And man, I could see all these areas that needed help or fixed, not realizing that the way to motivate them would be words that inspire, that breathe life. They're good things. And it's not that I don't ever speak truth, but it has to be packaged in a certain way, and it has to be grounded and surrounded by a lot of admiration and words of life.
That's it's really interesting, Anne. So my wife has a T-shirt that basically tells me how to love her. It says, "Feed me tacos, tell me I'm pretty." And if I feed her, I'm the cook. If I feed her tacos and tell her she's pretty, she's pretty much good to go. I want to have a shirt that says, "Make love to me always and tell me I'm awesome." I just need her to know. I mean, I think there's something to this, right?
No.
Because the constant foreseen nagging,
Yes.
or critique, or the wearing us out,
Mhm.
it can create. It can create a lot of bitterness. So, but here's a statistic that I read in your book here, and it didn't shock me. I thought it was actually higher, but what shocks me, and I think what will shock men, is what they don't know, and it's that 2/3 of American divorces are actually initiated by women.
Yep.
I thought it was 70%, but it's up there.
Yeah.
So, and this is after years of frustration, unmet needs, and feeling this, that they are unheard of. They aren't heard by their husbands. So they
Yeah.
keep nagging, they keep
Yep.
critiquing, they keep, trying to drive him to a better place.
Mhm.
Can you share about the heartbreak in that and the
Yeah.
cycle that you go through of resentment and disappointment?
Yeah, I think that, and part of it is expectations. Our desires shift into expectations. And so we have this idea and longing, and maybe we're comparing to our fathers or some image of somebody. And we start, and this is what I get into too. we start creating a neurological pathway of negativity, of only
Oh,
seeing the negative. And because of the brain science we're doing now today, it really is demonstrating that our thoughts have real power.
hmm.
And we're actually training our brains to see and say the negative. And honestly, I started when God said, pay attention to your thoughts, it brought Romans 12:2 to mind. Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so I thought, oh my goodness, my thoughts about him, like I'm folding the laundry and I'm thinking, I feel so alone. I don't feel like I'm seen. I feel like all of his greatest energy goes out there. I'm feeling devastated. I feel lost. And, but I'm going through all of the list of things of what he's doing poorly.
I guess what I'm hearing. I'm
Yeah.
hearing all that. It
Yeah.
came out. Her thoughts ended up in her words. I mean, one time I was crawling into bed and she literally said to me after preaching all weekend, leading my church, she says, "Man, I sure wish the guy that led our church lived here." And it's
And you know,
11:30 at night, Jim. I look at her like, what are you saying? And she's
mm,
like, I just watched you this morning at church and you're preaching with a passion and you pray with this fervency and you come home and you're just a dud. None of that comes home. And I would love to say, man, I was like, you know what? I needed to hear that. Thank you. Jim, I literally jumped out of bed. I stood over the bed and I said, let me tell you something. I know the men in this church. You got the best husband in this entire church right here. This is the guy, and you're disappointed in that. I mean, I was so hurt by those words because she was saying the negativity that she thought. The truth is, and I know you have a lot of guys listening. I know the next morning I got up in a quiet moment in my office with God. I just said, "Were you speaking to me through
mm,
Ann last night?" And I felt like he was, yep. You bring energy, you bring passion, excellence to the job. And my job's ministry. So it's a public job. And you come home tired and you expect her to bring all that.
I'm
And
like, can you just initiate prayer at dinner? You
mm,
know what I'm saying?
mm,
And so, and I get that. Like I have 3 sons and 4 grandsons. But yeah, for Dave, that was a blow. But I'm so thankful that he got before God because the way I said it wasn't great.
yeah, I mean, what I felt I heard from God, and I want every man to hear this. I felt like I needed to say, okay, I got to step up.
mm.
The most important disciples that I'm pouring into are named Ann, CJ, Austin, and Cody. That's my tribe. And I'm not saying the people in my church aren't important. They are, but guess what? Thousands of them are strangers.
Yeah.
They know my name. I don't know their name. I meet them in the lobby and they're wonderful people. I'm called to love her and lay down my life for her and lead my family and lead my boys. And I thought, you know what? That is wrong. I've got to step this up. I'm going to be held accountable for this. It's like, not that I'm going to not do my job with excellence. I'm going to bring everything I got to my job. But on the drive home, I need to shift into another gear and say, this job I'm going to is more important than the job I just left. And you know this, your boys are getting older. It's like the window is closing on those days and years you have. So it's like, seize the day, bring the energy. I know we're exhausted. We got nothing to give. Find a second gear and shift into it and walk into that house and say, let's go, show up for your wife. So she's like, wow, that's the man I married.
That's so powerful. I just had a podcast before you guys, and we were talking about, whatever we put on the grindstone will be written on our tombstone, right?
Yeah.
So guys, we're deceived into thinking it's at 9 to 5.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Really the 5 to 9, right? So
Yes.
I'm going to tell you this. So first of all, I knew you looked gritty, and it's the boy mom. My wife is a boy mom, so she just looks tough to me, like boy mom. And then I will tell you this, Ann. So I was at Detroit at Kensington Church. I don't know what month it was, March, and Dave was keynoting. And so that is where you guys had a church with multi-site campuses with 14,000 on Sunday. But here's the thing. He told that story in his sermon.
Yep.
And
Wow.
and he told it with total vulnerability. He honored you in the story.
And you remember that.
He remembered. What I'm saying is your words matter to him.
Yeah.
And your words can either bring life or bring death. You said that in your book. So can you talk to us, Ann, about, what you learned from that experience and how you're speaking? Like we have women thousands of women listen to this podcast, but we never see them. They don't comment.
Yeah.
But they're wanting to know, how do I speak life? Like, what does it look like in the jungle?
Mm-hmm.
How do I do it?
Well, I love Proverbs 18:21 because it does says the power of life and death is in the tongue. So the journey that I went on was I felt like I needed to start somewhere. So my prayer was, and part of it too is I had to lock in with God. The moment that I separate and don't keep my eyes fixed on Jesus, I put them on Dave to meet my needs. He was never made or equipped to fill my needs or even to make me happy. That's God's job. So that's number one. I need to lock in. And so by locking in, I'm talking about I have to be in the Word every day. I have to read the Word every day. I have to either listen to it or read it. I need to have friends that are fasting and praying together. And then I felt like God was saying this, and look for the greatness in Dave. And that was my prayer. Lord, show me the greatness in Dave, because that negative neurological pathway that I had created, I mean, it says to take your thoughts captive. Paul says that. So I needed to learn, how do I take my thoughts captive? I need to stop going down this negative pathway. And my prayer is, God, show me the greatness in Dave. I'm just going to tell you, God does that. And so now I'm looking for things that he's doing right or well.
Even if they're little.
Little, tiny. And I had to start, this is embarrassing. I'm not a faker. I can't just fake it. You know, oh, Dave, you're amazing. I have to so I started out, I thought, okay, I can say thank you. I can simply start saying thank you. And so it's one night I'm on this training myself. So we're sitting down to dinner and I said, hey guys, before we finish eating or before we start eating and praying, I want to say, Dave, thank you for working so hard. Thank you for providing. You are killing it, man. And I thank you so much for putting so much of your energy and effort into making sure that we are provided for here and protected.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jim. I knew that she's been reading a book about respecting her man. So I'm like, she's just doing what's in the book. It didn't matter. I felt like my chest was coming out, and I didn't yell it, but inside I was like, I am the man, aren't I? You know, it's just like, and it was so amazing. That little comment breathed life into me. And I think that's how men respond. It's like when you see something, you call it out. We want to be better even than what you say. And we may not even think, like when she first started to say things like, you're a good man, she would say, you're really a good husband and you're a good spiritual leader. I at first was like, no, I'm not. You've never said that. What are you talking about? You lying right now? What is happening? Exactly. And then she kept doing it. And again, this didn't change in a week or a month. This was over a year or so. I started to realize she is starting to see something good in me that I don't even see anymore. And that's how men are. We run to that. We're like, okay, I'll jump higher. I can do that. But when you ask me to jump higher, I'm like, no, not going to do it. Go talk to that Steve guy. You think's a better husband than I am. You know?
Yeah.
Well, that's how we do it.
One of my big complaints was I had this picture and expectation of what it should look like for Dave to lead our family spiritually. And neither one of us grew up in a Christian home, but I had Dennis Rainey, who's the founder, and he started Family Life. And I thought, oh man, that's the kind of guy. And so I would say things like that to Dave. So I do that prayer, God, show me the greatness in Dave. So he goes into the boys' bedroom, he's praying for them. And I'm noticing now I have new eyes, which gives me a new language. And so he comes out of the bedroom and I said, man, I'm so jealous. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, your words, your power as a man and a father, these guys are clinging to every word you say. I'm in there and it's absolute chaos. But when you speak, they're locked in. And I'm jealous of that. That's all I said.
I mean, Jim, we were sitting used to be a bedroom. It's now our home studio in the same house 30 years later. I can point to where I was standing on the stairs when she said that, because she was sitting outside the bedroom. I've never forgotten those words. It's like, I'm good at this. The boys hang on my words. I remember walking downstairs the next night. I'm running up the stairs, running into the boys' bedroom. Hey guys, let's pray. I was like, it was just so motivated. Like that's how I lead. And she gave me affirmation. I jumped. I think, and she didn't do it to manipulate me to get me to do that. But that's the power of a woman and the power of a woman's words.
Power of a woman. And
I think as I listen to that, and I'm thinking of the guys that are listening, I I think we as women assume that our guys are super confident, and they're not. Like, I don't think I
Oh,
realized because Dave is very confident, he's very self-assured, not knowing, like, there's some insecurities in there that he's always asking, "Do I have what it takes?"
Yeah.
And
always asking.
yes, I
Every
don't think we
man.
understand that as women, and so even if a guy could get vulnerable to say, like, makes me cry thinking about it. If Dave could have had kinda that courage to say to me, "I feel like I don't know what I'm doing
Mm.
Mm,
spiritually with the kids,
yeah.
even with you, like, as a husband, I haven't seen it modeled ever. I feel
Mm,
like I'm feeling half the time." I think if Dave would have said that and opened up and been vulnerable,
Mm.
I think my response would be like, "What can I do to help you?" And if he would have said, "Man, your words, Anne, they
mhm.
bring me life and hope. They bring me, confidence." Had I known that, I would have been all in and on board because most of us as wives, we really are thinking we're helping and we're hurting
Yep.
in these situations. And so even to be vulnerable like that for men to say, "Man, I feel like I need your help," in terms of like help meaning encouragement. Like, and notice what I'm doing. If I'm doing the smallest thing right, say something or notice it. And we are like that as women, like, "Do you see me? Do you notice me?" But I think that that could be a really cool step as a man to be vulnerable, to go to a level 5 communication. Whew, that is very attractive to us as women.
That is so powerful. You said a couple things. First of all, women notice it, and by
Yeah,
notice it, you're going back to an earlier statement. Notice the greatness. God, show me the greatness in my husband.
yeah.
Notice it. When you notice it, you speak it. But
Or
then
text it.
or text it or something.
Yes,
But then you
something.
said something to the men. I wanna highlight this. Guys, I wanna challenge you. Like, we're gonna do our boots on the ground right now. I wanna challenge you to go to your bride and ask her to help you and be specific. Like, ask her to help you. So that is so powerful what you're saying there. Here's one of the things, and I think Dave and I would agree with this. I mean, a good man wants to please his bride.
Yep.
He wants to please her. He doesn't know how. He wants to please her, but the words, I'll tell you a story. So in 2012, we launched this ministry called Men in the Arena, and we launched it out of a church. We launched it from scratch. Our house would end up going into foreclosure. God saved it. But I remember sitting at the breakfast table. We'd have breakfast together as a family every morning, and the boys are 12, 14, and 16, and saying, no, they're 14, 16, and 18, and saying, "Hey, boys, daddy's going to do this. What do you think?" And they were they didn't know how powerful, what was going on. But my wife said something very simple. She said, "I've trusted you for 20 years. You've never let me down.
Mm.
Oh,
I'll keep trusting you." It brings emotion now.
Yeah.
And to me, she became a superhero
Yeah.
yeah,
because her words are so powerful, because they're our most important person on the
yeah,
planet.
yeah.
And
But let
so,
me add, Jim, like, when you say, "I need your help,"
yes.
don't well, as a wife, this is gonna sound so weird. We think helping means point out the things I'm doing wrong. It does not mean that. So you have to be very specific. "Hun, I need your help." And you know what helps me the most is when you notice the things I'm doing right or well, and you point those out, or you encourage me with your words or a text or a note. Man, that energizes me. And you could say, if you're brave enough, because critique makes me shrink.
Oh,
I lose all my motivation. I lose the air from my chest when it's only criticism because I'm already criticizing myself.
critique makes me shrink.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
That
a
is
new one, Jim. She's never said that on any other podcast.
that is really good. I mean, it really
Man in
just
the
hits
arena
me,
gets
right?
it.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, it's
Yeah.
so good. It's so true, because if you want to increase our capacity, notice the greatness. Like,
Yes.
even if it's so small, "Hey, I noticed you put down the toilet lid this morning.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't hear a splash when I went to the bathroom. Thank you." Just the little things, right? Like,
Little.
critique, because if critique is like, yeah, man, I'm just thinking critique, it's like a Seinfeld episode. I jump into a cold pool. It's like, it just,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's a little off color, but it's my podcast. I can say what I want. But I
You
mean,
jump out.
that's the true image, right?
Yes.
Critique makes us shrink. So, Anne, so talk to us about life today. Like, how are you doing?
I
I can tell you how she's doing. Seriously, she has gone on a journey. This book is sort of like a memoir because
Mhm.
it's that journey that
Yeah.
every man hopes his wife takes. It's again, we don't have a perfect marriage. We still struggle.
No,
But in year 45 and probably from year like 15, 20
25
on,
probably.
she is a life speaker. She believes in me. She trusts
Mhm.
me. And that doesn't mean she doesn't speak hard truths that I
Yeah.
need to hear. But when it's a lot of cheering and then there's a hard truth, you can receive it. When it's only hard truths and critique, it feels like boo. And a man will run outside his house and do other stuff rather than come home because out there he's getting cheered and at home he isn't. I mean, I'm not kidding. There's not a day that goes by that she doesn't speak life. There's probably not an hour.
Oh, that
And it isn't fake. It's like she'll call out something she sees, and I'm like, thank you. I mean, I run home. I want to be with her because she is my biggest, by far, cheerleader.
So when she notices those things, Dave, does that create a swelling?
Yeah, yeah. I get
It's
swole.
energy.
I get swole. I wish it
Oh,
worked that way. Look, I don't even have to work
It
out. I just speak life into me.
It creates energy. It creates, and then it's like it breaks that cycle. Now he wants to be with you and not in the garage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I also think, as men are listening, I think on our side, when we take down the wall of masculinity and confidence that we got it all together, because we don't, and we're humble enough to say to our wives, whenever it happens, I'm really scared right now.
Yeah.
I'm
Feeling
I've
insecure.
got this meeting coming up. I'm preaching this sermon this weekend. It's a touchy subject. I'm leading this, whatever it is that we say, things men never say, we just hide it. I'm really scared. I don't know if I can do this. When we're vulnerable enough to say, I'm afraid, or, I'm not sure what to do with our son. I'm not sure when we are that humble and reveal that to our wife. We call it level 5 communication, where we sort of pull back the layers and share our heart. That also lets them in.
Oh, it's so attractive too.
And then they get a chance to say, wow, this guy's needy. He's a man, but he's also a boy. And he needs me right now. So for me to critique him is just gonna hurt him. I think he needs me to speak life. I believe in him. I think he does have it. I'm surprised that he thinks he's weak in this area. So that's a chance for her to speak into it. But often we never give our wife that shot because we got it together, rather than there's got to be somebody in our life that we're vulnerable with. You know this. We need other men.
Yeah.
We don't need 50 men. We need a few.
Yep.
And then we got to be vulnerable with our wife too. And I think that's a gift to her because it gives her a chance to say, okay, I'm going to help you see who you really are.
Well, it's kind of like Genesis 2:18. When God created Eve, it says in the scriptures that God created Eve to be a helper suitable for Adam.
Yes.
And man, I used to buck against that. Like, why do I have to be the helper? Where's my helper? And the more I've studied that and gone into the Hebrew, that word helper is the word azer, which I know that women, this has been very confusing over the years and for men, but that word azer is referred to God over and over in the Psalms, especially when Israel is at a time where they can't meet their own needs. They're in a battle and they can't win it apart from azer, their God who will come and help. That same word is used for a woman. It's like she's meeting a place that the man can't do it alone, that she comes alongside of him. The word suitable is actually the word kenedgo, which means standing toe to toe. And that's interesting because as a woman, man, if we're on your side as a woman, women can be fierce.
Oh.
They can be a little scary even.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but to have your woman standing toe to toe with you, side to side, back to back when you're in a battle, where she's accomplishing different things than the man is, and together our strengths and weaknesses kind of come alongside. I heard Christy McClellan said that she asked a rabbi who lived over in Israel in his 80s. She said, what do you think that term helper suitable means? And he said, Christy, I think what it means is that in the garden are Adam and Eve, and there's also Satan, the enemy. And God knew it would take both Adam and Eve together to battle and defeat the enemy. And I think of that with us today. Like Satan's always bringing a wedge in, trying to tear us apart and be enemies. And we can use our words to wound each other, or we can use our words to build up and to see each other the way God sees us.
Well, I see marriage like this. I don't know what
Yeah.
I'd do without my wife. I'd be a
Yeah.
barbarian. Like, I'd be a barbarian. I need her to do this for me, to do this.
And she needs you.
Yeah, 100%. So
Yeah.
okay, talk to me about this since we're going into Genesis here. I love diving into the original language. It's
Yeah.
just so awesome. So if we look at the 2:18 in Genesis, we flip over to the curse
Yeah.
where God says your desire will be for your husband. Can you walk us through that and how that creates a tenuous situation between that and Genesis 2:18?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there's a lot of different interpretations for that. I mean, sometimes you can look at that word and it's been interpreted in the ESV as, and her desire will be to control her husband.
Mhm.
Now, sometimes people will really push against that. And there's this part of me, I have that in me.
My
It,
wife too. She would
she
say that's
does.
100% part of the curse. Yeah.
Me. I see this in so many women. They may not agree with it, but I just see it in myself personally.
Yeah.
I see that when things get like, if Dave's not stepping in or I'm feeling insecure, I'll just take control of the whole situation.
Yep.
And what does that do
Yep.
for Dave? Well, he becomes passive. So he becomes
100%.
passive because I'm so controlling. And now he's like, I don't even know what my part is. I see that coming over and over. God's like, no, I don't want you to combat or control him. I want you to stand toe to toe beside him, have his back, be together in your strengths and his strengths. And together you can defeat the enemy. It's this beauty. We had
Yeah, we had a guy named Jeff Meyers on our podcast, Family Life Today, and we do lunch with our guests. Jim, we got to have you on.
I
We got to make
know.
this happen.
We do.
You endorse the book, man. Let's do it.
I
Yeah.
know.
You
And
probably
anyway,
want to be and Shanna on because
yeah, that'd
she's
be
a lot prettier. She's like your wife. Be a lot
we need
better.
to do it. Definitely need to do it. But Jeff, we're having lunch and Ann's writing the book and we're thinking through all this Azer Kenegdo and studying, and he's a PhD. And
Theology.
he makes this comment, and the conversation got so rich. I literally took my phone. I put, I'm recording all of this,
Uh-huh.
and it ends up being in the book. And he says, as I think through Azer Kenegdo, helper suitable, toe to toe, I think it has a sense that when a man looks into his wife's eyes, he sees the man he can become. And he goes, it's so beautiful because it's like usually we look in our wives' eyes and we see disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
And we see like we're letting them down and what she wanted or thought she was going to get. And he's like, no, it's the opposite. He looks in her eyes and he's encouraged. He's like, oh, I can become great because you see it in me. And now you're standing toe to toe with me. That's how God
confidence.
made us, like you said, one.
Yeah.
And in that oneness, we make each other greater. We're powerful together.
Yes.
We have our best friends. Rob Hutland actually was what was he in all-time
leading scorer in Iowa football history as a kicker at University of Iowa. Yeah.
Well, I produced a punter. He has more consecutive starts than any football player ever at Linfield University.
There you go.
Program in the history of college football.
Wow.
7 winning seasons. But so I have a big fan for kickers. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's awesome.
I'm
amazing.
going to brag about my kids when I can.
His wife is my best friend.
Oh, okay.
He's Dave's best friend. So they're going through a valley and she's like, he's driving me crazy. He's traveling all the time. He's never home. When he's home, he's tired, feel like he has no energy. And I said, oh man, I've been there. You've got to start like training your brain to see the positive and praying. And so we're praying. And she said, I'm not very good with my words, but I'm going to text him some things. And then she bought a journal. And so her prayer became, God, show me the greatness in Rob. It showed me the things he's doing right. So she starts out simply, like one of them entries, little entry, maybe 3 times a week, little entries. She said, hey, thanks for putting the Christmas lights up outside. I know you hate it. It's in Michigan and it's freezing, but you do it every year because you know I love it and the girls love it. Next entry, she'd been complaining he never gets home for the soccer games. So instead of seeing the negative, she writes, thanks for making it to the end of Macy's game. That was probably really hard with your work schedule. But when you walked into the stadium and she saw you walk in, our daughter's face lit up and her whole countenance changed. That's the power you carry as the man of our house. So those are the kind of entries that she's written for a year.
For a year.
She gives it to him on his birthday, and he sits in the chair and just cries the entire time. And we said to him, like, "Rob, why did you cry?" And he said, "Because as a man, I feel like I'm continually failing.
Mm.
Failing as a husband, failing as a dad, failing as a discipler, failing as a man of God."
Mm.
And he goes, "I'm always doubting myself."
Mhm.
But for Michelle to say, like, "This is what I see in you," it makes me want to be that guy. It makes
Yes.
me want to become that man. I want to work harder. Those are the things that motivate us. Those words of life instead of words of death. Whew. And that
So
one, like,
powerful.
and she still does it. She's been doing it for probably 15 years.
Wow, and the bummer is we have 90% of our listeners are men, so the men need to go to the but the men need to go to their wives and say, "Honey, hey, here are my insecure." I mean, we just need to.
Yeah.
I struggle with that, and here's how I struggle with this because I'm not trying to hide or hinder my wife from knowing all about me, and I'm also not trying to be the macho man. I don't think about that with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think about going to her with the insecurities,
Yeah.
but she knows more about me than anybody on the planet. She cares about me more than anybody on the planet. I'm the most important person to her on the planet.
Yeah.
So it just makes sense that, guys, we need to go to our wives and be very vulnerable
Yes.
with
I
our
think one of the things you could ask your wife when it comes to that is start by asking her, "Tell me the words that motivate you. Tell me the words that bring you life."
Oh,
And then for you as a man to say, I remember asking Dave, what are the top 3 comments you would like to hear from me? I think he was like, "Let's have sex. Let's eat."
No, it was not.
well, we know the sex part was number one, so don't lie about that.
That was number 1 and
Number 1
2.
was, "I want you." That's what it was. You
I
said,
want,
"I
yeah,
want
yeah,
you."
yeah.
Yeah.
That's so well. So
What were the
okay,
other ones?
No, I actually did a Father's Day sermon years ago on Father's Day, and I said, "This isn't for the dads. This is for everybody else." And every dad and man here is going to go, "You were my voice today. Here's the 3 statements we long to hear from our wife or our kids." I don't remember exactly what they were, but I think they were, "I believe in you.
Yep.
I trust you. I'll go the distance with you." Something like that. It was like those, and there's 10 of them at least, but those are the biggies. Like, "I believe in you. I see something in you, and I believe in you." Of course, same thing's true for our sons,
Oh,
as
yeah.
dads, but especially for us as men and husbands and dads, it's like, man, we want to be trusted. Now, at the same side, I know we have a lot of men listening. We have to be trustworthy men.
Yeah.
100%.
You don't trust somebody, because they say, "Trust me." You trust them because they earn it, and you can lose it in a second. It's going to take days, months, years to earn it. So as we are living as men of integrity, where our words match our life,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to start to trust us over time. But that when you trust us
Yeah.
and believe in us, it means everything. And I think Ann's book is really the power that God has given women. And all I do in the book, Jim, you saw that, is I write at the end of every chapter.
It's my favorite part.
Yeah, I just write a couple
Yeah.
pages just to say, "Hey, ladies, this is how we as men think." So, guys, if you want to get the book, you can say this: "Hey, Dave's speaking for me." So,
Yeah.
it isn't like, "Hey, you yell at me." Just say, "No, I think, we could read what Dave says and let's talk about it," because he's going to have
That's a good
similar
idea.
perspective, but it's going to honestly be different. I'll share this real quick. One night, I walked into the bedroom after a long weekend in the fall, and you know what that is like. I preached 5 times. I did Lions Chapel. I was on the sideline for the game as a home game, and I come home after 5 sermons, chapel. It's a long day, and I'm crawling into bed, and all I say, and this is a level 5 share your heart moment. I really didn't want a response because it was too late, but I was vulnerable enough to say, "Man, I've been getting a lot of critiques lately on my sermons," and I lay my head on the pillow.
This is embarrassing, but I'm a verbal
I
processor.
know what my wife would have said to me, so go ahead.
Okay, good.
It
I'm a-
might be what she was going
I'm
to
a
say.
verbal
Yeah, you
processor.
did.
And so in my head, I usually say whatever I think. And so in my head, I thought, well, if you'd spend more time studying the scriptures, I think your sermons would really be better. And so I had gotten in the habit with God, and I talk about this in the book. I started asking God. I felt like he was directing me to ask this question. I started asking God. I felt like he was should I say it? When should I say it? And how should I say it? So Dave says that. I say to God in a split second, God, should I say this thought? No. God, should I say anything? James 1 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives generously. God, should I say anything? And is now the time? And this thought popped into my head. I feel like it's from God. And I said, man, I can't imagine what it's like to be you. You have thousands of people depending on your walk with God. That is a weighty thing for you to carry.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is silence. And then he pulls me over and he whispers in my ear, you are my life.
Mm.
And that's where, when you bring God into it, even with our parenting, with our wives, with our families, with our kids, our husbands, when we bring God into it, he wants to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And what if I would have said, well, if you just study the word more, your sermons would be better. Like, talk about boo, you know?
Yeah. And Jim, I did not think, hey, I'm going to pull her to me and say, you are my life. I just did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
why did I do that? Because the power of a wife believing in you and understanding what you carry, blah, 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 is so much more powerful than anybody else. Somebody comes up to me at church or anywhere else, says, hey, you're amazing. You just smile and say thanks. And you're thinking, no, I'm not.
100%.
No, you don't know half my life. My wife doesn't think that. But when your wife, who sees all the negative and the bad, and still it's the gospel, loves you and accepts you and says, I can't imagine what it feels like. It was like, I cannot live without you. And guys, it's the same thing for your wife.
Yeah.
If she's feeling that and you speak life into her, that's oneness. She's going to be drawn to you as you are drawn to her.
How does asking the right question instead of nagging, how does that play into your conversation when Dave needs a little bit of help?
And let me tell you, like, some women have to be pushed to be able to say something. You don't have to do that with me. I'm all about that. But we're all so different. So my encouragement to women is pray about it. Pray how you're going to say it. If something comes to your mind, let it go for a day, which is super hard for some of us. Let it go for a day and see if it continues to come back up. If it continues to bother you, then your next question is, Lord, okay, I'm going to say something, but I want you to guide how I say it. I talk about it in the book, like wrapping a Christmas present. You just don't give somebody a present. As women, we are all about the wrapping. And sometimes we need to start wrapping our words in a way that is appropriate, that it's palatable, that they can hear it and understand it.
I mean, Jim, I've heard her on the phone with other wives literally go, no, you can't say it like that. It's like, tell me how you're going to say it. And no. Because they don't really understand. Like, no, that's going to crush your man. And again, this, there are moments we need to be crushed.
Right.
They need to say the hard thing. They wrap it in love as gentle as they can, but they have to say it. But if they've been speaking life, we will receive it much better. Because it isn't boo, boo, boo all the time. It's you're the man. And hey, by the way, I got to tell you something. And we're going to receive it. So I think some of that, even for the wives, is, what's the ratio of what he's hearing from you?
I mean, John Gottman says, we've heard that from John Gottman. There's a ratio of 5-1. You have to say 5 positives to negate that negative. And so if their tank is full, we've been filling them up with positive, and we're going to make a deposit of saying something that's truth. But we're going to say it in a loving way. It can be firm, but it can still be, hey, hon, I think this could benefit you. Or what do you think about this?
And on the other side, and I'm talking to the guys now, if every time your wife says something that's hard to hear, that's like truth and love, and sometimes they just say truth. It's not even in love, but it's true. And all they get from us is defensiveness. Like, what are you talking about? I mean, if we rise up and escalate against that, guess what? That shuts her down. She's not going to come back to you with truth again. You're just going to be the jerk you are. You're not going to grow. God has given you a mirror. She's a mirror to show you the greatness in you, but also the areas you got to work on. So we need to humble ourselves enough to go, you know what? I hate hearing what you're saying. This is not fun.
Yeah.
But I need to hear it. I want you to say it as clear as you can. I'm going to do the best I can not to be defensive.
I can remember the day that you did that, because we'd get in these fights. Our fights were always, most people have cyclical fights that come back up. Same thing, which I feel like God's saying, I want to heal this. Something's going deeper. And I remember my big fight is like, "You're never home. I wanna be with you." And so I remember one time and Dave would just get defensive. "I am home. I am here. My schedule is okay." And this one time I said, "I just feel like you're not around." And he said, "Tell me more. What do you mean by that?" Which I'm
I
like,
mean,
"Wait, what?" Like, you just shifted on me. We usually just go he
most
goes
men, yeah.
defensive, I get big. "So tell me more. What do you mean by that?" And so I remember we got done, I told him what I was feeling, and he said, "If you feel that, then it's true, and I need to live with that reality." And I
Wow.
was like, "Wait, wait, wait. Like, that's a huge thing. Like, you're gonna believe that. And
Yeah.
maybe you don't even believe it, but you're gonna work with me in it." That was one of the most I can remember where I was standing when you said that. Then it's true. If you think that that's true, then it's true. That was a pivotal point for us. Like, man, you talk about manning up. That was like, I wanted to say, "Oh my goodness, like you're amazing. Thank you." It
Wow.
acknowledged my feelings weren't invalid.
That's so well. So I want to go back a little bit here. So you said something. I want to repeat it. It was powerful. Critique makes me shrink. Makes him shrink. Critique makes him shrink. And then I, in my book, Dialed In, I talk about the chapter on respect, and the
Yeah.
subtitle is "Respect is the greatest gift a man can give to
Mm.
another man." But I think that goes with his wife as well. What I like to tell women is when you disrespect your husband or come at him disrespectful, it's like kicking him between the legs.
It is.
Mm.
But we live in a world where to not respect a man is pretty normal.
Yeah,
To respect your husband is almost countercultural today.
it
So
is.
how can married couples rebuild in their relationship this respect, especially when it's kind of a talk, downplayed in society, and it's maybe eroded in their relationship over
Yeah.
time?
That chapter, I call it "Respect the New Rebellion,"
Yeah.
because we're living in a culture that is
Yes.
going ag in fact, I'm bothered by the culture for men.
100%.
I'm bothered by I have these 4 grandsons who are pretty magnificent little boys right now, and I'm looking at them thinking, "Who's your role model?"
Mm.
There's nobody to look up to, no movies, no, like, these great characters of, "I wanna be that man."
Hmm.
I get pretty passionate about this because I mean, I have 12 nephews too. There are no nieces. So there's a lot of men in our family.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, we're going to lose these great men if we as women don't step into and up to what's being called of us. And for us to acknowledge that we need men, that we respect and love who God made them to be, it starts in our own home. It starts with
Mhm.
our families, with our own sons, and with our and modeling to our daughters what that looks like. Because as wives, oh, we're modeling to our girls when we disrespect our husbands and belittle them or make them feel so small, it's going to kill our culture
Mm.
Yeah.
because we're killing these great men. And so I think I'm so passionate about this because I know that the power we carry, we can instill this fresh energy into men. And I think by saying that prayer, God, show me the great. And I've had women say, Ian, you don't understand. There's no greatness in my husband. There's nothing to cheer.
Whoa.
And what I say is he was made in the image of God. And that alone causes us to cheer. And you married him because you saw something in him. It could be it could be your father or your brothers as women or other men to other men. But man, when we say that prayer and then we start asking God, like, show us that, we can change our family, our marriage, we can change our culture and our communities by we as women as we step into what God's called us to do. And that's a humbling laying down our lives, but it's
Mm.
also a lifting up and seeing like we need each other. I can't do this without you. Even if you're single, like my male friends are important and I need to see who God made them to be.
Okay, Ann, I need your advice. All right, here it is. Okay, no, I'm serious, serious. So we're kind of winding down this thing. This is a great book. Been a wonderful conversation. I love your statement. Show me the prayer. Show me the greatness of my husband. So I sincerely need your advice on this. So I'm a guy listening to the podcast. It's awesome. I'm going, how did Dave score that beautiful gal? The whole thing.
Exactly.
Anyway,
I had hair back
only
then.
say that because you're there. I'm writing a book in June with my wife called Guardrails, so I don't say that. It
Oh.
stands there. So okay, Ann, here we go. How do I get my wife to listen to this episode without causing a war.
Yeah.
How do I do that without causing a war?
Yeah. I think it'd be so good if Dave said to me, "Hon, I'd love to listen to this podcast." My first reaction would be defensiveness.
Yes.
No. I think if I said I want to listen to a marriage podcast, your first thing you'd be like, "You want to do a marriage thing together?"
That's true. I want to.
Oh.
I'd love to listen to a marriage podcast.
So frame this as a marriage
but
podcast.
you can't
for
trick
men.
her. You can't trick her totally. And
Yeah.
just
Yes.
like some of the things they talked about is resonating, and maybe you'll resonate too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I don't know, not all of this is me. Maybe some of it you'll relate to because I can sense maybe you're frustrated with me. So maybe it could help us have a dialogue about some of the things we're both feeling.
Mm.
And I'll also take you out to the nicest restaurant in our town,
It's a good-
and then we can talk about the podcast.
Oh man, date night. I love it. I love it. And I'll even get the babysitter, and I'll even
Yeah.
choose the restaurant.
Exactly.
Man, that's
Score.
smart right
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
No, but that's so good because the guys are listening to this, but this is, and I think Dave, you being on the show and you writing the little sections that you wrote, it really will diffuse a lot
Yeah.
because you're both here. To have Ann here and the guys go, "Hey, I heard this podcast of this gal, and you need to go." That's not good. But both of you on here, and I think I just would really love to see. And your book released on the 13th.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're gonna probably drop this ASAP because I want to get that first couple weeks of sales is so important
Yeah.
in the publishing world. And so thank you for that advice, because I think that if we can get couples listening to this, I think it'll go a long ways. And then of course we've had you on the podcast for
Yeah.
Vertical Marriage, Dave. Was it Vertical Marriage or the
Yeah.
Parenting one? I read both your books. Have you been on twice before, or is this the third time?
Yeah, it might be.
I read both the books behind you.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I mean, this will be a great opportunity, and then they can read the Vertical Marriage after that. So let's direct people to you guys. How do we get people connected with you?
I mean, obviously our podcast is called Family Life Today. It's on radio stations, but most people listen to it just like they do you, probably on online. And it's also on YouTube. So it's a video podcast as well now.
Follow us on Instagram or Facebook, which is Dave Ann. There's not an and, just Dave Ann, ANN Wilson.
Not an E.
Right.
Yeah, Dave Ann Wilson's one word. Facebook, Instagram. We don't really do the website, but if you want us to come speak or reach out, and we can help you. Direct message us, and we help couples all around the country. It's an amazing world now on the internet. You can really interact with people that need help.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're here to do. The same thing you're doing.
You're talking about my church.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing it all. So no, appreciate you guys so much. And we probably had, I think, out of 800 episodes, like 5 women on.
Wow. I
which is
feel honored.
They're always so powerful. And so it's just really great. I love having strong women on my podcast because I believe strong women make stronger men.
Yeah.
But like you said, Ann, it's the approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the approach. So I appreciate you and what you've done and brought to Dave.
Thank
Just
you.
listening to him raw and uncut in Detroit, he clearly highly, highly honors and respects you. And I know you guys continue to fight for your marriage and do your thing. So appreciate you guys so much what you bring to the body of Christ.
Thank
too, Jim. Thank you.
We appreciate all you're doing. And yeah, he's pretty magnificent.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jim.
Thanks so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Make sure you're following us on your podcast app and YouTube. A lot of people just listen without following, but the new follows helps us climb the charts. And guys, it's a great time for you to give back this ministry by hitting that follow or subscribe button. Until next time, feel the wet sand on the arena floor. Hear the deafening roar of the crowd. Taste the sweetness of victory. Smell the stench of battle. Get in the game. Get dirty. Grind it out. Communicate with your bride and be a man.